In today's video, I'm going to take you through a concept that all the best players in the world, all the best ball strikers in the world do. It's a pattern that you'll see every single day when you watch golf on TV. However, most amateurs really struggle with this pattern. Now, this pattern is all to do with the width in the backswing and the narrowness in the downswing. So let's start this off by actually just looking at this pattern in action. I'm going to flash a whole load of different tour pros up on the screen next to me. We're going to be looking at the left arm parallel position in the backswing and comparing it to the downswing. Now, in all of these cases, you can see they are considerably wider in the backswing than they are in the downswing. However, what do we see with most amateurs? Well, if I demonstrate what I see on the lesson tee pretty much most of the time, they kind of fall into two categories. Number one, they'll be in this wide position on the way back, but then on the way down, they'll return it back to this wide position. So they're sort of wide to wide. Now, the second pattern that I see is golfers that overly use their wrist. So in the backswing, they'll really set their wrist past this 90-degree angle. And then from there on the way down, they've got no choice but to throw that club out. Otherwise, they are going to be super, super narrow. They're not going to be able to control low point or strike. And ultimately from there, they're going to have a lot of inconsistency. So if you are either the golfer who oversets your wrist in the backswing and then from there you have to throw out, or you look wide to wide on the way down, then this video is for you. So what is actually happening when you see these tour pros go from this sort of just wider than 90-degree position here and then in the downswing they come back narrower? What are they doing very, very well that amateurs aren't? Well, they're actually controlling their trail wrist very well. So they're understanding how to load that trail wrist and release it. So let's firstly talk about the backswing and what we are looking to see. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there about how to set the wrist and things like that. I've done videos purely on wrist set. Go and check them out. They're going to massively help you. But in essence, the simplest way to think about wrist set is you are just trying to load your trail wrist. What is loading of the trail wrist? Imagine I'm sort of holding a tray in my right wrist there. My wrist would go back on itself. My right wrist is getting into that loaded position. That's what we're trying to see in the backswing. Now, if you are the golfer who is too wide in this position, maybe you don't set your wrist at all, you're not loading that trail wrist any amount at all. Or if you're that golfer who is excessively setting your wrist, chances are you're actually loading the club more in your lead wrist, which is getting that cupped and not loading it in the trail wrist. Because if you load it in the trail wrist, the left wrist goes flat and it's easier to get into that wider position in the backswing and down cock it into that good position in the downswing. So all I want you to do to start with is take the club back about 2 or 3 foot. Now from there, take your left hand or lead hand off and just set the club up, just straight upwards in the back of the right hand. And that is going to teach you what it feels like to load the club in the back of the trail wrist. So essentially, it kind of feels like I'm pushing down with the right hand and also pulling up with the sort of back of the right wrist. So it's sort of the palm of this hand is pushing down as the knuckles sort of pull up slightly. Now again, here is the key with this. We are not maxing this out in the backswing, and that's the key. It is a very subtle movement right there. You can see I probably moved it half of my range of motion right there. Just a tiny amount. So if I now carry on back to this left arm parallel position, you can actually see how I'm at or just short of 90 degrees right there. Now here's the thing, most tour pros nowadays are not at past 90 degrees. They're at or just short of it. And the reason for that is because they are not fully maxing that trail wrist load. What they are trying to do is they are trying to leave some sort of room in the tank, some extra sort of motion there, some extra range of motion in order to allow them to have that down cock. So actually, I want players to sort of aim for a little bit wider than 90 degrees here. So as if you're only just sort of 50% setting the back of the trail wrist. Because then what happens is as you now continue up from this position, you now have room to allow that club to, as you transition down, load even more and fully max into the back of the trail wrist to where then you can rotate all the way through. So you can see as I do that, I go here, I'm now going to feel like I continue to let that club load in the trail wrist. As I come down, I'm not holding anything, it's just naturally down cocked into the back of the trail wrist and then all the way through. Now, a key position we look at in the downswing is, again, this left arm parallel. You can see now at left arm parallel in the downswing, that club is really loaded back on itself right there. And I'm in a position to where I'm shy or more sort of more set than 90 degrees. And then as I come down to shaft parallel, you can see my hands are level with my right leg. As the shaft is parallel to the ground, I've still loaded the trail wrist, and then I can start to release it. Now, here's why I don't like the term lag, because lag is sort of suggesting you're trying to hold these angles, you're trying to hold this trail arm. I didn't do any of that. It just naturally down-cocked into the back of my right wrist. Easiest way to show that, take your lead hand, put it behind your back, grip it with your trail wrist. From there, a little bit of natural down cock on the way through, all the way. You can see, as I'm doing this, at no point am I holding an angle. I'm just allowing that club to set into it, and then it gradually starts to release out. So there's no holding going on here. And this is actually by far the best way of training this. I like to go feel it naturally load, down cock it and through. So 50% load in the backswing, allow it to then fully load on the way down and then release it on the way through. So you should be sort of seeing this. I cannot remember who it was, but I saw a coach use like a paintbrush analogy, and I love that. Imagine you're doing these long strokes sort of on a wall, you're painting the wall. You go back, you then let it down cock, and then you release that paintbrush on the way through. So you just long strokes. Again, I'm not the best painter, as you can tell from my technique, but I can feel that trail wrist loading. Same thing in the goal swing. Load it slightly, not the full way, and allow it as you shift and turn to have that natural down cock into the back of the trail wrist. Then from there, you can release it out on the way through. This is going to give you some great club face control and great shaft lean. Now, I absolutely love that single-handed drill, but another great drill, another great analogy is the hedge drill. Now, the reason I like to call it the hedge drill is as you go back, you are going to imagine that you gently brush a hedge that is placed right behind you right there. So you're going to gently brush that hedge. Now, as you now continue back, you're going to continue to let the trail wrist set. You're going to allow that club to set into the back of the trail wrist, and as you come down, you're going to come in well inside that hedge. So you're going to go brush the hedge, miss the hedge. If I do it inside, brush the hedge, miss the hedge, and all you're focusing on is how that trail wrist is moving. You're feeling it sort of gently set on the way back, fully sort of load on the way down, and then release it through. And remember, as I'm doing this, I'm keeping everything super, super, super relaxed. So see, really relaxed forearms, a little bit of natural set, let it fully set on the way down, fully load on the way down, and then from there, release it. Touch the hedge, miss the hedge. And through, and you can see really nice compressed shot. I probably exaggerated it a bit too much, came out very, very low there, very compressed though. And that's the thing with most golfers, is they can feel touch the hedge, miss the hedge. They are going to start to have that wide to narrow look. You'll feel your trail wrist do this motion. You're going to control the club face a lot, and from there you're going to see some real speed and some great compression as you come into impact. So there you have it. That is a really simple concept that pretty much all top tour pros do, and every amateur can implement into their game very, very simply. Just focus on loading that trail wrist, understand how much to do it and when to do it, and you are going to see some huge results. Now, if you need a little bit more one-to-one help with your game, I offer online coaching on the Skillist platform. The link is down in the description. If you have enjoyed today's video as well, please give it a like and subscribe. And remember, click that bell button just so you get notified every time I post a new video. But if you have enjoyed it, then I hope to see you back here soon.